blessings, and good evening. Welcome to another edition of King Talk Tuesdays, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. Here on King Talk Tuesdays, we cover so many topics, whether education, healthcare, economics, spirituality, and so much more. I'm your host, Andy King, and I look forward to you all joining me for more dynamic and inspiring conversations each and every week. King Talk Tuesdays airs and streams live on Facebook every Tuesday and our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. King Talk Tuesday also airs every Thursday evening at 10:30 p.m. on Fios Channel 2136 and Optimal Channel 70. We also are streaming on a number of streaming services such as Roku TV, Amazon Prime, Millennial TV 24, and Clash TV. I encourage all our viewers to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's King Talk Tuesdays, our YouTube channel, so you don't miss any episodes. Also, please check your local listings to catch previous episodes of King Talk Tuesdays throughout the week. I want to thank everyone who's been tuning in and watching us today and over the past years. You know what I say, right? People pay attention to people who participate. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor that King Talk Tuesdays is on right now, and they can leave us a comment or drop a statement on our Facebook or our YouTube channel, or email us at kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. Again, our email address for questions and comments is kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. We'll be right back on King Talk Tuesdays for this week's episode after a couple of messages from our friends. Andy King for Thorough Dynamics. The vision of Thorough Dynamics was something that was bred over 25 years ago that allows people to get their physical rehabilitation services back to life. What we've done over the last year is do a total revamping, a total reorganizing. How do we service people? Because service is anything you do to improve the lives of others. If you don't have your body strong, if you don't have health, you have nothing else. Visit our website at thoroughDynamics.com or call us at 866-256-0937.
Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency provides programs that help community residents improve their lives and support their families. Are you in need of food, clothing, employment, or a home? We also provide immigration services and passport renewal.
Hi, I'm Pastor Glad.
And I'm Lady D.
We're here to serve you.
Need help? Ask us.
You can reach us by calling 718-652-3288 or visit us at gncdcny.org.
Yeah, I want to give a good shout out. Thank you to Good Neighbors. They've been doing so much wonderful work here in the North Bronx and beyond around the globe. I want to thank Pastor Peart, Pastor Glad, Lady D, and everyone who does what they do to feed people, clothe people, and just offer any social services assistance that is needed to help people be stable in today's society. Also got to give a shout out to Thorough Dynamics, who is doing it right, helping people get their lives back to life. Yours truly was part of the team to help them get started in Co-op City, and they're doing so much wonderful work, whether it's a bad back, bad arm, bad knee, bad eye, bad head, whatever it is. If it's bad, they're going to get it fixed, so it'll be good. So go on over and sign up for Thorough Dynamics today to get your body back to life. There are a lot of things that are happening in the world today, but you know what I really want to know? Oh, yeah, as Marvin Gaye would say, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Well, we're going to tell you what's going on. Next Wednesday, the 17th of May, will be the 18th annual Bronx Youth Empowerment Program's Youth Speaks. It is a youth forum that allows our young people to voice their concerns growing up in today's society. They will be addressing an adult panel of entertainers, sports figures, entrepreneurs, educators, medical professionals, just to understand what they're going through, to get the guidance and the wisdom that's needed. I was told a long time ago, you can't keep it unless you give it away. So we're looking forward to this dynamic conversation, a spirited conversation, informative conversation, an educating conversation, and a stimulating conversations from our youth of today with some of the pioneers who've done it right, who's getting it right, and adults who are making sure that they're living right appropriately. So we will asking everybody, if you want to be a part of this day, Schools are coming from throughout the district and around to be a part of this conversation. So if you want to be a part of this, RSVP BronxYEP@gmail.com. Again, that's BronxYep@gmail.com. Secondly, we want to share with you the 10th annual Co-op City Spelling Bee is going to be happening on May 20th at 1 p.m. in Dreiser Community Center. Now, that's room 4. Now, we know that our youth are smart. And we know spelling is one of the greatest things that you can do to show that and demonstrate that you have smart and accuracy in writing. Now, one of our guests later on is going to talk a little bit more about spelling, because if you can't get the words right, it can change the whole meaning of a sentence. And if you don't understand spelling, you won't be able to pronounce a word. But we're going to talk more about that. So any of our young people who want to be a part of this day, please sign up. You can see the information there before you in Co-op City, Dreiser Loop. The African American Association is putting it together with River Bay. So please go on and join them next Saturday, May 20th on 2023 at 1 p.m. in Co-op City. And next, we want to let you know, as a council member back in 2018, we established the first ever woman who did it. Ran around with Melly Mel and the crew as a 16-year-old who's done so much to kick off the world of hip hop. And I'm thankful and grateful that we were able to establish the first Saturday in June as MC Rock Day. And that's what's going to be happening again in Magenta Park. We're going to have a wonderful time and a wonderful day as we celebrate the luminary icon, MC Rock, on her day. And it will be from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Magenta Park. So we're looking forward to you all to come on out and be a part of that day. There will be fun, music, and even some of the hip hop icons are going to come out and be a part of. We celebrate the 50th anniversary of the hip hop world, the mother of hip hop, the luminary icon. Because if there was no MC Rock, there'll be no Salt and Pepper. There'll be no Queen Latifah. There'll be no MC Light. She was the one who broke the ground and got into the neighborhood, got into the world of hip hop, which was looked to be as a boy's man's world. So we want to give a shout out to a luminary icon, MC Rock, for us being able to dedicate her, serve her, and love her. But more importantly, for her breaking down the barriers and paving that road for the rest of the sisters who are in the hip hop industry today. Next, we want to announce that DOE Chancellor, my good friend, David Banks, and the mayor announced today a new program called New York City Reads, aiming to boost youth reading skills. Banks announced that the program will be introduced in 2 phases, beginning this year at 15 districts across the city, with full implementation citywide by 2025. Each district will choose one of the 3 curriculums that the program offers. And, we're going to talk a little bit more about what's happening this weekend. But we got 2 dynamic ladies today. For the past couple of episodes, we've been talking about social justice. And when we talked about social justice, we brought on folks who were in the midst, because social justice has so many components to it. Whether you are an educator, whether you're an activist, whether you are a doctor, whether you are a parent, or you're just somebody in the neighborhood fighting for social justice or social equity or social equality, all these things tie itself in when you're in a system that's lined with oppression. And how do we stand strong as people who have been oppressed? How do we stand strong as people who are watching the oppressed? How do we stand strong to say the oppression doesn't work? How do we do things that come together in a human component that makes sure there's equity all across the board? Well, a number of people have taken the challenge, or whether on what side of the coin you are, you're still part of the coin. And these 2 sisters that are joining me today are going to talk a little bit about their experiences, what they've done, what they've offered to help improve society, and what they're doing today. So first, I want to bring on, and they are no stranger to me because I had the opportunity to meet them to find out, family matters, and just found out a couple of years back, they relatives. So that's a blessing. That's a blessing. So I want to bring in my cousins. They're both from Mount Vernon. They are sisters. They've done a lot of wonderful work. I want to bring in someone who is inspiring and full of hope and full of love. I want to bring in, she's a trustee as well, my cousin, Hope Marable. Come on in to King Talk Tuesdays. How you doing, cuz? Get your mic going. Let's get your mic going. we got to get that mic working on you. She go cut that mic on. You got to cut on your mic. Once you cut on your mic where you got mute, we can hear that beautiful voice. So, yes. Oh, we can't. You got to cut your mic on. Your mic is still off. Where you see down there, you'll figure it out. But in the meantime, while you find that, we're going to bring your sister in, who is a doctor of education, a principal who's been doing such wonderful work. She's decided to kick off her shoes and relax her feet in the classrooms, but she's still out there doing it as an educator. And once you're an educator, you're always an educator. I want to bring in Doctor. Come on, Dr. Marable. Come on, let's bring Dr. Marable into the show and welcome her into King Talk. It's good to see you, cuz. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
We are doing
so good to be here today, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be able to share my thoughts, my views, and my leadership.
Great. I believe, Hope, you got your mic running now?
I do. Cousin and sister, yes.
Yes. So let's jump into it, and just get to know who you actually are. So, Hope, tell us a little bit about. I know you've done some work in the library system as a trustee, but tell the people, who is Hope Marable?
Well, you know what? First of all, that depends on who you ask. That's a number one.
I guess we're asking you.
You know what? Okay, spoken like a true Marable. What I will say is this. Like a lot of people have this misconception about what's going on at the library being my first rodeo, my first entry into the struggle. And that is not at all true. Anyone that is aware of the United States Postal Service knows the name Hope Marable from east to west coast, nationally, internationally. I have done things with that industry of shame. It was once an industry of shame, unfortunately, while I was there. And I have progressed so much to the point. I progressed that industry of shame so much to the point whereas policies have changed. I just so much groundwork, footwork, things of which I'm truly, truly proud of. I was offered so many industry jobs, professions, to just move on from the Postal Service. But there was one thing that struck a chord with me throughout the course of that journey. And it had to do with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King when he was assassinated in Memphis. I'll never forget my mother explaining to me as a child that he was assassinated in Memphis while advocating for garbage workers. That was the expression she used for trash, for people that worked on the trash truck, garbage workers. Okay. And I said, oh my God, this great man, like gone from all of us for this purpose, for people that pick up garbage. And my mother looked at me, my mother, just such a wonderful woman of wisdom, as is my father also. I'll never forget, she looked at me in such a way, and she spoke directly from her Bible about the least of these. I can't even remember the whole scripture at that point in my life, but she spoke of the least of these and just how great of a man Dr. King was. And there was a theme that my parents always spoke of throughout the course of my life about how the greatest of you will always be your servant. And there were times throughout the course of my lifetime when Dr. King's speeches, sometimes I was a bit confused when he spoke of, oh, if you're a shrub in the valley, you could be the shrub. I'm like, I don't want to be a shrub in the valley. But guess what? When God puts you there, when you're the shrub, trust me, when you literally are the shrub and there's nothing you can do about it, that's when you get it and you go, wow, I really do want to be the greatest little stub shrub in this little valley because there's nothing else I can do about it. So, so throughout the course of my lifetime, there has always been a struggle. There's always been a war. And I can honestly say no weapon formed against me has ever prospered. And I'm so proud of that.
Love it.
And you know what I'll do? I could go on and on and on, but I'll fall back a little bit because my sister has such a wonderful history, such a wonderful legacy of her own, as you, my dear brethren. And so I don't want to take command of the floor as people often accuse me of doing. So I'll fall back today. I'm gonna listen for a little while, just like I used to listen to my mom as a little.
Well, it's all with love. It is all.
Yeah.
Thank you. No, thank you. It's all with love because we do want to get to know the work that you've done. When we start talking about social justice, what is your relationship to it as a postal worker, now engaging in a new career and doing some other things? Well, we're going to get to that, but we have Dr. Marable in the house. And when the doctor's on, we got to make sure she answers the call. So we just calling the doc right now. Talk a little bit about us, Dr. Marable, about who you are, the things that you have done, not only as a mother, a sister, but as an educator as well.
Yes. Well, again, thank you. And thank you, Hope, for allowing me to have the floor. And yes, you do. I'm just going to concur with you. Yes, you do. Sometimes take the whole floor, but it's okay because you do have a lot to say. And I value that as well. I was born in a town in Mount Vernon, New York, which when I was growing up was literally divided by this railroad track physically. It was a physical structure in the middle of the city. And even though as a young child, I never really knew or felt that there was a real divide in the city. We knew that it existed. Like we knew that there were certain places that we couldn't go and we couldn't venture out to. And I grew up knowing and playing at 30 East 4th Street with some very, very special friends that are still dear friends of mine. And when we went to school, I went to Robert Fulton Elementary School, which is now Edward Williams, which is named after one of the principals that was there when I was a student, who was a gentle giant who walked the streets, and he was known for walking the streets. And I looked up to him then, and I still remember and look up to him now, was one of my mentors. And when I was a young child, I used to get bullied at school. I got bullied because I was a lighter complexion, my eyes were lighter, my hair was a different grade. And not understanding that, that there was a color issue, among African Americans, I just thought that people bothered me because I don't even know. But I remember running through people's backyards and running from dogs and chasing over and not even liking school. Not liking going to school. I liked being in school because when I was in school, it was safe because my teachers made me feel safe. But coming home, I always dreaded the time I would have to go home because I was being chased and bullied. My parents would tell me, stand up for yourself like you stand up for your sister, like you stand up with your sisters. Why don't you swing back? But I didn't, my sisters were familiar to me. These people that I went to school with, they were not necessarily that familiar. So I remember my father one day, my parents, they were humble. They were workers. My mother stayed home and helped raise us when I was younger. She ended up going to work when my younger sisters were younger. So they have a slightly different experience than I may have had, growing up. But my mom was always home. I always went home for lunch. My food was always ready. I had breakfast in the morning. We were always dressed impeccably. Went to church on Sunday, Sunday school, choir rehearsal, the library. Any activity that was going on in the city, my mom made sure that we were involved in those free programs, the camp and all of that. But again, going to school and coming home, we were surrounded by some people that may not have necessarily had the same influence that I had in my household. So those individuals, either whether it was jealousy, I didn't really know what it was at the time. I just knew that I was afraid. And once my dad, he took off work, and at that time it was very difficult to take off work and still manage 4 young people in a 2-bedroom apartment in a tenement building in the city. But he did that, and I was walking home from school at lunchtime, and I saw him walking down the hill towards the school, and I went to say hi, Daddy, and he just looked at me like I shouldn't talk to him because I guess he was protecting me at that time. And I was just so glad to see him as my protector. And my dad has always been that for me. And then my older sister, at that time, we left the school. They only went up to 4th grade. So my older sister was 2 years older. So she left and went to Washington Junior High School. And then they brought them back to the elementary schools for K-6. And so she came one day and she approached one of the people that was trying to bully me. And I ended up getting in trouble for it. You know, and I couldn't understand how I was the one being victimized. But yet I was in trouble because someone was protecting or providing protection for me. So it was just a very interesting experience for me. But I surpassed all that, and I was determined at that point in time that I was not going to allow those things to impact or influence how I moved forward in my life. And I was determined to graduate from school, and I always wanted to be a secretary. That was my thought. And my sister, my older sister, who always, she struggled a little bit in school, and it wasn't a struggle for me. So my sister decided she was going to college. And I said, she's going to college. If she's going to college, I'm going to college. So with that, she ended up going to Iona locally in New Rochelle. And I did not want to do that because I didn't want to stay home with my 2 younger sisters and have to keep watching them all the time. So I ended up telling my parents that I wanted to go to North Carolina Central. I wanted to go to Howard. My cousin worked at Howard as a security guard. And I guess he had told my father about some of the experiences, and my father said, "You're not going there." And I said, "Well, I can go to NYU." He said, "You're not getting on the train." And so I ended up doing like an eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And I ended up at Rutgers University, which was the best experience that I possibly could have had because I interacted with the Reverend Dr. Samuel Proctor, who was the pastor at Abyssinia Baptist Church. And I knew at that time that every year and every semester, I needed to take a course in African-American history. And that's what I did. And it became such a great experience. And I've met so many wonderful people. I was in class with Sister Soldier. I was in class with Alfred Edmonds, who was one of the chief editors of Black Enterprise magazine. So those were all my classmates. And I had a fabulous experience. And I ended up really being involved in social justice. We had a Black Voice magazine, and I pledged Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated while I was at Rutgers University. And that also helped to shape my views and my values on social justice and fighting for those individuals that could not fight for themselves. And I always had a passion for children and teaching. But my parents, of course, wanted the best for me. And at that time, teachers weren't paid a lot of money. It was perceived that children weren't necessarily the most well-behaved. So they encouraged me to go into industry, which I did. I majored in accounting. I was good at it in high school, and I graduated, ended up going into it and working for United Jewish Appeal down on Park Avenue in New York. And listening to those people, to the Jewish community, what their struggle was, also helped to shape my views because, they marched with us in the March on Civil Rights. And one of my best friends from 3rd grade, her uncle was Bayard Rustin, who helped to form the March on Washington. And she lives right here in Mount Vernon. She's very humble. She never likes to talk about it. But she's an educator in Mount Vernon Public Schools as well. And she's also my line sister in Delta Sigma Theta. So we are very, very good friends. So all of those experiences kind of shape who you are and what you do. And when I became an accountant, I still had that passion for children because for me, it wasn't really a job. It was a call that kept calling and pulling me in. And so I ended up, when I graduated, I wanted to go back for my master's. And so that passion is what drove me to major in urban education at Iona College with my Master of Science degree. So I ended up doing that. And then I taught. I was a substitute teacher. I taught accounting and history and special education at Mount Vernon High School. And then I was elevated to an assistant principal at Tripagan Elementary School. And then I had the distinct honor and privilege of going back to my alma mater, Robert Fulton, then the Edward Williams School, and becoming the principal. And that's probably my greatest joy. And when I went in there, knowing the culture, knowing the experiences that I had, I did not want any other child to ever experience what I experienced in terms of the aftermath when they get out of school. And I also know the experience that I had with the fabulous teachers that cared about me when I was in the building, and I wanted that experience for other children. I moved to New Jersey. I got married. I moved to New Jersey, and I still continued that fight. I worked at Malcolm X Shabazz High School. I also, in that time, I invited who we know the royal family of Mount Vernon is Malcolm X Shabazz and Dr. Betty Shabazz's children. Ambassador Shabazz, Atala Shabazz, came to the school and she adopted us. And I worked with her, and she came and worked with the children. As a matter of fact, she's still there working in that school because of the efforts that we had and the relationships that we had built over the time, and because of our connection to Mount Vernon. So we continue, and she's also now my soror. She's an honorary member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. She was inducted in Atlanta in 2021, I believe, 2021. Mm-hmm. And so, again, those things shape who I am. I believe that every child deserves a high quality education. I believe that every child deserves the right. It's a civil right. I remember I had gone to an event, and Reverend Al Sharpton was speaking, and he taught me it's a civil right. It was NAACP session, and it is a civil right. I still believe that. I always believe that we are education should be free, actually through college. And I've had the experience of developing actionable and sustainable approaches and create positive and collaborative environments and culture in schools, using resources effectively and efficiently. I had a startup school in Newark, New Jersey, which was called the Barringer Ninth Grade Academy. So I was able to pull out some of those children from a very large campus. They ended up going into a very small centered environment. That was a project that they called me to do. I did that. And I also have worked in affluent communities, such as in South Orange, Maplewood, where they struggled too with, with racial divides. So I worked at a school called South Mountain, and I had a wonderful experience there. And we collaborated with some of the schools here in Mount Vernon with Edward Williams, and some of the children came on a bus and and they collaborated with a program. And so I have had a wealth of experience with children. I also serve now. I have the experience of being the recording secretary for the Frederick Douglass Memorial and Historical Association, which is out of Washington, D.C., but is actually as a trustee to help ensure the Frederick Douglass's life and values is implemented and infused, and people know and understand about it in perpetuity. And so we are the trustees of his estate. So I'm involved in that. And I'm also the treasurer of the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center, which we just named the Westchester County Health Center, a community health center. And so I am still involved. I used to sing more than I do now, but I've sung and held concerts to raise money for children, for scholarships, never taking a dime, never taking a nickel, because I believe that we pour back into the community that has poured so much into us. I've also had the opportunity to speak at an NAACP luncheon where we brought about 30 youth in, and we talked about social justice. We held up signs for all those young people that had been cut down in the streets by our what was supposed to be what we were raised to learn to know as our police. Our friend, the police officer, was our friend when I grew up, and now we look at them a little differently. And my sister is a retired law enforcement officer, as well as my brother-in-law, and as well as one of my bonus sons. So I respect them highly. And so I don't know. I don't want to go on and on because
well, we're getting ready to go to halftime. So
all right.
And then we want to come back in here because I need to hear from Hope as well, because I know she's doing some stuff with the library and as a trustee. So we want to get into to hear her story a little bit. We got a few questions that came in there we need to tackle before we go to a few breaks. But right now we are at halftime of King Talk Tuesday, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. So this is the moment in time that as a former basketball player, I get my stretch on, make sure I don't get too tight up in here, and then so we can continue with the conversation. But we're going to take a quick break and get some more messages from our friends here on King Talk Tuesday. We'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Revolution of hip hop. Bronx Terminal Market. 610 Exterior Street. Bronx, New York. Tuesday through Sunday. Pull up.
The Golden Era, 1986 through 1990.
Hi, Frank Perez here from Eastchester Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. It's our Durangos must-go inventory sell-off. Over 145 Dodge Durangos, all trims, all options, all colors, all must go. The all-wheel drive Durango has it all. Style, comfort, cutting-edge technology, and loaded with safety features. Get up to $2,750 bonus cash and even make no payments for 90 days. It's our Durangos must-go inventory sell-off. Eastchester Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Pay the least in the East.
Oh yeah, pay the least in the East. If you need a Jeep for transportation, Eastchester Jeep is the way to go. We want to thank them for being good friends of King Talk Tuesdays. As well as we told you earlier, it is the 50th year anniversary of hip hop. So please make sure you make your way to the little hub that they have that's there, but they'll be opening up in a couple of months now the big hip hop museum that is coming to the borough of the Bronx. We're looking forward for that exciting day. But throughout the summer, you're going to get so many, and they've already started celebrations about hip hop and the 50th year anniversary. So please stay tuned, be a part of them, show up. You're going to get to see some of the pioneers who early first did it. And I'm excited to be a part of it myself as we're getting ready to have Shah Rock Day as we kick it off as the first female MC in the industry. And she's from the Boogie Down Bronx. But I also, at this moment in time, I want to just share some words of guidance and strength and just asking people to be calm with themselves, to pray for themselves. You know, the world's been flipped upside down for the past couple of years. And I applaud all the students who have who've gotten through it and managed it. But I want to say this to all our adults out there. Our children have lost technically about 2 years of social and psychological and physical development. And that means we have 16-year-olds are still probably 14 and a half in their brains, or 12-year-olds are still 10-year-olds, 18-year-olds are still searching because of that lack of development. And trust me, while everybody was online, nothing substitutes for being in person, communicating with folks, touching folks, sharing folks, and being in the space with the human component. That's why solitary confinement is so detrimental to the psyche. So don't think that because kids were doing the computer learning that they got it together. Don't fault them for the decisions that they make or the energy they're exuding right now. But we got to grab and hold on to them. But I'm asking everybody to find a centerpiece for all of that. You know, we the scripture tells us we can't lead to our own understanding because it leads to our own misunderstanding and detrimental. So I just ask us to find a center place for you for strength and guidance and pray. That's what I do. For me, it's the Most High in Christ. So if you haven't found a spiritual force, now's the time to do so. It's a wicked world, it's an ugly world, it's a stupid world, and it could be a greater world for you. But you're going to have to realize what part of the world that you can't be involved in and pull yourself out of it with the strength of the Most High in Christ. So I say a prayer for the strength. Say a prayer for wisdom. Say a prayer for guidance. Say a prayer for protection. Say a prayer for prosperity. And not only just pray for yourself, pray for your neighbors. Pray for your community. Pray for your friends. Pray for your enemies. Pray for your frenemies. Just pray to help you relieve some of that stuff that's on you that you're trying to hold on to, that you think you can manage, that's holding and wearing you down. There's peace involved in the scriptures. There's peace involved in believing in a higher power. And I ask us all to do that for yourselves because we'll be better together. Again, you're tuning in to King Talk Tuesday, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. I'm your host, Andy King. You can email us because we are taking questions and any comments that you can put in our Facebook chat or our YouTube chat. You can email us at kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. Again, our email address is kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. We'll air every Tuesday, 8 p.m. on Facebook and our YouTube channel, and airing every Thursday at 10:30 p.m. on Optimal Channel 70 and Files Channel 2136. And we're asking you all, check your local listings if you missed any of our previous episodes. Tonight, we're having a conversation about social justice, but we have two dynamic sisters who just happen to be family that are doing good things in Mount Vernon, who've done great things in Mount Vernon. And we just want to welcome them back because we have Sister Hope Marable and Sister Donna, Dr. Donna Marable, and they both are candidates doing some things in Mount Vernon as a retired educator. And we have Hope, who's done retirement, who with the postal office. And trust me, I know working for the post office can be a challenge within itself. The energy and it's almost like working in a hospital. You know, the TV show ER. It's like I would never want to go to that hospital. It's always crazy over there. I need to go someplace where it's kind of calm. And the post office, I pray for all our brothers and sisters who help get our information, our mail to us each and every day. But talk to us about how the world has transitioned for you, Sister Hope. You know, right now you are a trustee. You are looking to run both of you. But I want to hear your story about the library system, about what you've done for the library system, and what does it mean to be a library school board trustee?
Well, ironic that you brought up before I proceed, ironic that you brought up a couple of things. One of which is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. I am, not to pat myself on the back, but I am also a pioneer in the music industry. I've been a licensed music publisher since 1995, wrote some hit songs. My former partner, Vance Wright, and I, who was Slick Rick's producer, we simultaneously owned and managed 3 recording studios in the city of Mount Vernon, New York, hubs and staples within that particular community for many years, over 12 years.
Congrats.
Yeah, and I'm very proud of that work because there are people to this very day that we both mentored and are very grateful to us both. One of which was a young man by the name of Earl Simmons, known to the world as DMX, who was literally like a nephew to me, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but is with us still in spirit.
Oh yeah.
And then you also touched on, what was the other thing? There was something else that you spoke of, Andy, that really touched my heart. You touched on music, the 50th anniversary of hip hop,
spirituality, prayers, what we can do, seeing higher power.
What on earth can we do without that? Absolutely nothing. And one of my other favorite icons, mentors that I've never met was Arthur Ashe. I just truly love the guy. He was just a great sportsman. He was a class act. And I was just so heartbroken when he died of AIDS, when he was sick with AIDS, so to speak. And so that is why the HIV virus is something that, and so I was born in 1967. I graduated from high school in the year of 1985. And so I'm someone that literally was in the battlefield of all of these things. The crack era, the drug dealer era, the AIDS era. And so I can honestly, and you know what? And the lack of work era, it was so hard to find a job, like a 9-to-5 job back then. And one thing I will say about Mount Vernon, New York, that truly makes us unique. There's this expression. It's called ballin'. I can honestly say that in spite of all of the odds that were against us, Mount Vernon, New York was balling.
Money earned in Mount Vernon.
Against all odds, and we have so much to be thankful for. We had Heavy D, we had Puffy. Puffy had us at Madam C.J. Walker's house. I mean, we were chilling on the lounge sofas, all sorts of things. You can't do that now. I was there for Biggie Smalls' first video because Heavy was featured in it. They literally wanted us there for them wherever they went. And I'm speaking to the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Right.
We literally were their backbone back then. And so it's only right that a couple of weeks ago, we celebrated the Peaceful Journey Monument in the city of Mount Vernon, New York. A lot of people are complaining about the fact, it's not a statue of Dwight. And you know what? And I get that. And I tend to agree with it a little bit. But sometimes, it's like you said about spirituality. When it comes to artistry, when it comes to an artist and a vision, sometimes you have to put that to the side and you have to focus on the spirit that went into creating the work. And so I just wanted to make that point, and I hope I have done so eloquently, which I'm not always eloquent, as you're aware of.
No, I think you hit the
More
nail.
like elephant.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I want to get into before we have to take another quick break because I want to know a little bit about the library, the work when it comes to socials. And doctor, I need to know a little bit. How do you incorporate youth? We got about 5 minutes, 4 minutes before we go to another break. But just quickly, doctor, talk to us a little bit about social justice when you were in the classrooms in the school building, and how did you engage students to be a part of it?
Well, I think it's always easier to speak about your experiences. So some of the books that I've read, the Richard Wright stories, even the Donald Goines books, when you talk about when children, especially in our inner cities, they struggle. They struggle to read, and they're late bloomers. I call them. So what we've done and what we've had to do is we've had to kind of go back in time and try to get them engaged and get them excited about certain things, because if you can't read, then there's a whole world out there that you just can't access, whether it be a job, whether it be an application, whether it just be reading the Bible, anything. And so we know that in slavery, that was one of the things that people, they tried to keep from us, reading, and we were arrested and killed just for learning how to read, and how we had to hide books. And how they have this story, if you ever want to keep something from one of us, hide it in a book, right? Yeah. So that was one of the things that I always made sure that our children was reading. So in order to get you excited about reading, it has to be something that you're interested in. I don't care if it's sports, I don't care if it's about your community, and you share those stories. And I was not a reader. I was not a good reader until second grade. My first grade teacher, God rest her soul, Miss Etta Lee Jones. I was in like the lowest reading class, but she stayed after school with me. She did it during her lunchtime. And I ended up, before I left first grade, I was one of the top people in her class. And so I knew that somebody did that for me. So I always made sure, no matter where I was, that there was someone that would do that for someone else. And if I was in charge of a school, leading a school, then I had to make sure that the staff members that I knew had the same value. I have this, I don't know if you've heard of Jim Collins and Good to Great. And that's one of the precepts that I wrote my dissertation on, improving instruction in a classroom, was really learning what your core values, what are you passionate about? What are you good at? And then learn what drives you. So those are really the precepts that I use in order to really hone in and value what it is that I do each and every day. And one of the things and children for me will always be first. Because they are the ones they are our future, right? They are the fruits of our labor. And that's why I'm running on this for the Mount Vernon School Board as a trustee, as a candidate coming out of retirement, so to speak, because it is a full-time job when you think about it, but really focusing on investing our resources in students and teachers so that they have what they need in order to make sure that our students, our children are successful.
Great. So we're gonna take a quick break, and you just talked about children and youth, and I want to come back and we're gonna dive deep into this run that both of you are both engaging from. I want to hear from you. Hope to break it down because people are inquiring, what is a trustee? What do the trustees do? Why do you want to engage? But we're going to take a break because you just touched on it, Dr. Marable, about children, and we're going to have a word from a program designed to help children build body, mind, and community. A word from the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program.
The Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, is a youth organization that has served the Northeast Bronx for 17 years. During our tenure, we have provided recreational and educational forums that have nurtured the growth of many youth in the community. YEP has also serviced hundreds of youngsters around New York City. YEP's target audience is youth from the age of 11 to 18 with the goal of helping youth become productive adults. YEP provides young people with resources to explore leadership skills, community involvement, and self-development. YEP consists of weekly and bi-weekly informational sessions with guest speakers from professional, political, and entertainment arenas. Also, as a part of community involvement, YEP will host trips to a variety of venues for educational and recreational experiences. As we continue to partner with other local organizations and serve our community, we will strive to unite and develop the youth in our community. The mission of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program is building mind, body, and community.
Oh yeah, building mind, body, and community. 18 years. Trust me, 17 years ago when my wife and I started this after Fernando Ferrer's campaign went south, we did not imagine that we would still be here today, but the Lord had a calling for us. And I've been doing youth work since the age of 14, and I'm still in it at years of age, but it's been decades of work of doing this. So I just thank the Lord for putting that spirit on me to help children, but help people in general. And that's what life is all about. You got to have a purpose of why you're on the earth. Dr. King said, if you don't have a reason for living, then you're dead, pretty much. So you got to have a reason for dying. You're not truly living. So we got to find a way to sacrifice so we can live. And I don't mean sacrificing each other. I mean sacrificing the wrongs that are in the earth, sacrificing the energy of oppression, sacrificing the flaws, the miseducation, the inequity, all the things that distract from a joyful life from those who are sitting at the top of the hill enjoying a wonderful life, while the rest of us are fighting to climb up a hill. The Lord, I know the Lord has this, he reveals in his own time. And we're going to go through our things. We're going to go through our trials and tribulations. We're going to have our punishment, but come back to him, people, so you can find the reward when this world has transitioned to another world. I want to be on that side when the saints come marching in. I just say that. But, when we talk about serving and giving of time and energy, both of you have decided that you're going to run for a trustee's position here in the city of Mount Vernon. Hope, talk to us a little bit about, we really want to know, what is the library? I was the chief of library in the city council, so I understand what libraries, but talk to people. What is the library school board trustee and what do they do?
Well, what a library trustee is. A library trustee, in the literal sense, is a steward of the library. We have fiduciary responsibilities to care, to obey. It has to do with the finances. Unfortunately, in the case of Mamaroneck Public District Library, which I think is like just a beast of all its own, these people have someone has clearly stolen over $2 million.
I'm really sorry to hear that. And so, but you remember Mamaroneck or Mount Vernon?
That's Mamaroneck.
But I'm saying you're running for.
I am running for re-election in the city of Mount Vernon, New York. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
For the Mount Vernon Public Library, the city of Mount Vernon, New York.
Great. So what are some of the things you want to do? What
with our particular library, our libraries had some challenges since on or about 2013. There was a state imposed, out of the blue, a state imposed tax levy conversion from the city of Mount Vernon to the city school district tax levy for no particular explained purpose, so to speak. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the machinations of it. I'm just going to give you the facts. So the library's finances have been under scrutiny since on or about that time, understandably so, because for some reason, this is the thing. Apparently, there was about $500,000 in question that was owed to the library from, at the time of the tax levy conversion. But by the time, who is this? I'm so sorry.
And that happens when you lie.
Find a phone call.
Yeah, I understand. It happens sometimes. So tell as time is winding down, why do you want to continue to be a trustee on here?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So as time is winding down, we just want to know, why do you want to continue to be a trustee?
Can you still see me?
Yes, we can.
For the record, oh my goodness, can you still see me? Really?
Yes, we can see you. We can hear you.
I can see you though. This is
okay. Well, we're gonna come back to you and figure that one out. But Dr. Marable, talk to us a little bit. You running for school board trustee. Talk to us. Why do you want to do that? What is the school board trustee responsible for?
So a school board trustee is an unpaid volunteer position who holds responsibility for setting policies, establishing policies, ensuring that the superintendent follows the rules, that the superintendent runs the school district based on the vision of the school district. It can help set a vision in collaboration with the members of the community. We're really the community's voice. We're the voice for the voiceless. We're the gatekeepers in terms of their finances, ensuring that the budget responsibly, that the budget is implemented in the way that it's promised, to make sure that we explain to the community members what the school system is actually doing, how it's progressing. And in terms of why I want to do it, I just believe that number one, education is a calling. And I think I said this to you before. It's just like a minister. You know, it's a ministry, and at least it is for me. And I think that anyone that's in this particular position, that it really should be a ministry. But I'm running because number one, I've seen the school board evolve for years, as a child, as working in the school district, and now as a taxpayer. And I'm just not liking what I'm seeing or hearing. And I have the experience. You know, I'm running on the experience because I know the inner workings. I know the ins and outs. I have experience as a school district administrator. I have experience. I'm a certified school business administrator. I've been a principal. I've been an accountant. So I have, as Liam Nelson said in the movie, I think it was Taken, I have a particular set of skills that I've acquired over a long period of time. And I want to take those skills and I want to be able to bring them to the school district and to help and support and to help people understand and realize what it is that the school district really should be.
Well, that's perfect. Now you've never done this before. You never ran for the school board before?
I've never run for the school board. I have served on other boards. I'm also a trustee of another, I told you, Frederick Douglass Memorial Historical Association, to serve on as a board member for the Mount Vernon Neighborhood Health Center, or the Westchester Community Health Center now. I'm also the state coordinator for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. So I have a lot of experience administratively. And so those skills are transferable from whatever it is that I've done and that I will do. And as an educator, you understand the inner workings of what it's supposed to happen. As a school principal, we had to prepare budgets, and those budgets go into a collective budget that gets presented to the community for the school district. Also, we are responsible for creating the board resolutions that are submitted, because if it's something that involves our schools, and we are responsible for making sure that those resolutions, and we fight for what it is that we need in our schools. So I think that we need a strategic plan in Mount Vernon, because we're robbing from Peter to pay Paul. We're doing knee-jerk reactions as opposed to setting out a pure strategy and identifying the needs and what it is that we should be focusing and spending our money on. We wouldn't handle our own household budget like we're handling the school district.
Wow. How many
Your question for me was, why am I running for re-election?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm running for re-election to finish the work that I already started. When I became a trustee in June of 2020, our library was under a registration review process that had been looming since the year of on or about 2013. Since I've been a trustee, I have made great progress in that regard. I have recreated the long-range strategic plan, which had repeatedly been rejected by the Division of Library Services for New York State Education Department. I single-handedly rewrote our bylaws in compliance with the liaison that had been appointed to our library in that regard. Also, in terms of our finances, I single-handedly spearheaded our forensic audit process. I single-handedly vetted the current forensic auditor, Mr. John Luffrin from Hudson Forensic LLC. And so let me just say this, it's been an arduous task. It's been a long road. It's a privilege to serve. But at the end of the day, you know, there comes to a point especially with a thankless job, because it says, Donna said, there's no monetary compensation for all of this. But at the end of the day, you do want to be able to stick around to see all of your hard work come into fruition. And I'm the sort of an individual, I finish everything that I start. I don't leave any task undone. I've never done that, and I'm not going to do this with this endeavor. Unfortunately, I'm not able to say a whole lot because we're going to have a forum tomorrow also, so I don't want to give all of my secrets away, all of my secrets.
Okay.
But let's just say that it's been quite a journey. And what I will also say is that everything that we have in the city of Mount Vernon, New York, is worth holding on to. We have built this city. The old timers of this city we have built this city brick by brick. Okay, it's worth it to stick around. I think that everyone that was born and raised in the city of Mount Vernon, New York, that has something to offer should run for office. And yes, that's a whistle call for you to do it. That's why we have 12 people running for a school board trustee, 10 people running for library board trustee. I literally went out of my way to create an ad to inspire people to run for these positions. And because I'm so disappointed in the small field of people that were trying to run.
Right. And may I add to that? Hope makes a very valid point. There are 12 people running for 5 seats on the school board. Okay. Currently, we have 2 slates that are running. One is Drive for 5, and another is another slate of 5. If 5 people on one slate gets in, they get the voting block of the entire board because there's only 9 members. So if I have 5 people that are elected in on my slate, then that means that if they all vote the same, then that means I control the board. Right. So if you have, and so I'm not running on a slate. I'm running as a candidate because I think that each individual needs to stand on their own. They need to be able to present. They need to be able to share what it is that's important, and then convince other people, just like you have on the jury, convince people to say, why is it that you feel as though someone should vote a certain way? So on May 16th, they're voting for the library trustee as well as the school board trustee. They're voting on this and on the ballot in the schools. Wherever you're voting for your school board trustee, you're voting for your library trustee. So please make sure on May 16th, I am 5A on the Mount Vernon School Board trustee line, and Hope.
I am 8A on the line. And let me just say this, more importantly, the school district has an operating budget of
$251 million.
Right. And the library board has a budget of over $4 million. As the saying goes, this is serious money.
Yeah. That's right.
People want to complain all the time, but they don't want to get off of their rumps and vote.
The school district collects 70% of each taxpayer's tax dollar.
Wow.
70%. It represents 63, almost 70%. And the rest of that gets divided between the municipality and the library and other services.
Well, that's powerful, ladies. And I'm reminding everybody, please, it's what the election day again is May 16th. And we're voting for 5A and 8A, correct?
That's
Did I get that right?
Yes. May I also reiterate, Andy?
We got 30 seconds before we conclude.
If you vote in a slate, on the library board, that means that they have the control. They have a controlling quorum of a nearly $300 million budget with no opposition, a rubber stamp committee.
That's the school board budget. And the library is the same situation.
I said that already. We cannot allow that in the city of Mount Vernon, New York. There has been too much of that, and it has to stop with us.
Well,
let me just say this. My parents, my aunts, my uncles were pioneers in the political movement during the 70s, 80s, late 60s in the city of Mount Vernon, New York. We have come too far to allow this to go on.
We have run out of time, ladies. I want to thank y'all both.
What are they doing with all of that money? With nearly 300.
Thank you, Andy.
We got to bring you back because we run out of time on King Talk. Y'all dropped it like Y'all just dropped the mic on it. So I want to say thank you to both of you.
Wednesday, the day after the 16th.
Thank you, Andy.
Yes, the 17th. Go on, 17th. Got to vote in Mount Vernon. Got to vote Mount Vernon. Got to vote 5888. 5888.
May 16th.
May 16th. May 16th.
Now, I told him that I'm free the day after the 16th. I am free any day.
Okay, and we'll figure out how we do that. I want to say thank you to both of you, fam. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing what you've shared. But more importantly, as y'all continue to do the work, a job that means so much to everybody on this planet is what you ladies do, the raising children. I want to say to all our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties, everyone who's done something to help everybody. I want to say thank you to everybody, from my mama to community moms to everybody who's doing it, has the energy in the work to help and serve. We love you. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you get your feet rubbed, have a spa day, have a good meal, and just get some rest, because you earn it, you deserve it, you're worthy, and you worked it so tremendously well. And as we always do on King Talk Tuesdays, we end every show with a scripture. And tonight's scripture reads from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 9 through 11. For God have not appointed us to wrath, but to obtain salvation by our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us, that whether we wake or sleep, we shall live together with him. Wherefore comfort yourselves together and edify one another, even as also ye do. If no one told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Your friend, your brother, and your neighbor, Andy King. Peace.